quick little message before we get started today. 71% of all my viewership is unsubscribed. So if you do enjoy today's video or any of the ones that you might have seen here in the past, consider subscribing. It really does help me out, and thank you for watching. I'd say the best tip that I ever got that got me the furthest in fighting games or in Street Fighter V, whatever it may be, is from my friend Juices and my friend Broly Legs. And I say it's one tip, but they pretty much said the same thing, and that was to play at your tempo. Broly Legs tweeted something along the lines of letting your opponent hang themselves, right? Letting your opponent do what they want. And I remember Juices telling me very far back, he said neutral is sort of like a dance, and sometimes you have to do the push and pull, but don't lose the tempo, right? Don't lose your tempo, and don't fall into their trap. Don't play how they want you to. And I felt like those two things sort of went hand in hand, and I meshed them together. And that was my one tip that I felt like got me the furthest. That's great and all, right? That's great. You got the tip. But how do we apply this? How do we apply this to our game, and how do we make it work for us? Like I said, when I first heard Juice's example of it being like a dance, I was like a scrub. I was like gold or a plat maybe at that point, very early plat. And I didn't understand what he meant. I really didn't understand what he meant at all. And that wasn't until recently, until I really made that ranked grind where I was sitting down and playing for hours and hours and hours on end. And I realized that I had sort of developed a really good flow chart, for lack of a better term, that worked for me, but I deviated from the flow chart if I needed to, right? And that was the tempo. That was my tempo, was my flow chart. And I didn't let it get disrupted. I didn't let the tempo of what I wanted to do get disrupted. And if it did, I always recalled back to one thing, and that was let them hang themselves, let them do what they want, and just block. Because at the end of the day, if you're blocking, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You might get thrown for like 100 damage or something. What I really started to do was play a lot more reactionary. I wanted to block a lot. I wanted to play very lame, and I wanted to react to anything they were doing. And this got me so far. This got me so far and let me play the game for a lot longer than I usually do, because I usually just fall into whatever trap they're setting, like whether it's playing maybe a Ken, for example. You know, they're known for playing very wild. And if you fall into that trap of playing wild with them, if they're doing like quadruple backdash into heavy Tatsu across the screen, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're probably picturing it in your head right now. The quadruple backdash, Tatsu, heavy Tatsu in, and then their mix-up is either throw or DP. And my first reaction, before I was conscious of it, was to just chase them down, right? Because they're running, so I want to fight, and I'm chasing them down. And that's what they want, because they want to catch you running forward and unable to block that heavy Tatsu. So instead, hold your ground and take your ground when it's safe. That's what I did. So, for example, let's say the Ken is backdashing 4 times like he wants to. He's making a bunch of space to do his big giant move that he wants to risk it all on. Every time he backdashes, just walk a little bit. Just walk and block. So when he finally does do that big move, you're ready to block and punish it. It's just a matter of playing more solid than the other person in order to shut that whole game plan down that they have. Because there's a lot of gimmicks that people like to use that can be shut down with solid play. And that sounds very obvious. It sounds like, oh yeah, I just play better, right? Just get good. That's what it sounds like I'm saying, but it's not. I assure you it's not. What I'm saying is patient play will trump that type of fake rushdown stuff, right? A lot of things that you think work sometimes don't. For example, let's talk about Bison a little bit. Bison is a character that preys on lower ranked players who don't understand frame data, to a lesser extent spacing. But essentially, a lot of what Bison is doing is plus, right? But some things that he does that you need to look for is fake. Like if he does 2 down forward heavies in a row, you can interrupt that, or it's not real, so to say. There's a lot of strings that he does that aren't real that you have to realize and recognize. And the main thing that you can do right now, if you're watching this video and you have problems with Bison, play outside of down forward heavy range. If you don't know what down forward heavy is, it's the move where he reaches back and then swings forward. And if it whiffs, it is highly whiff punishable. It's super whiff punishable. The reason that he gets away with it a lot in the lower ranks is you're not looking for it. You're not looking to whiff punish that button because he's getting away with things under the guise of, oh, he's just plus. Because I was there, right? I was there months ago. I was very much in the mindset that I saw Bison on the screen in character select, and I knew I was going to have a very rough time. But in reality, I think Karen Bison is not a very hard matchup. I think it's maybe 5-5, and I just didn't understand a lot of the stuff that he's doing can be punished in unconventional ways. There are very few moves from Bison that you're going to block and be able to punish, special moves or whatever it may be, but there are some things that you can do to get around that. Like I said, you space outside of down forward heavy range to whiff punish. You space so whenever he does light scissors, you're ready to punish it with a 4-frame. And depending on your character, that can be kind of rough, right? Karen's 4-frame punish is like jab, jab, tenko or jab, tenko, which is kind of hard if you're newer to the game. Obviously, it's hard to input in general, right? Even I mess it up sometimes still. But all I can say to that is attempt it, right? Go into training mode. Do what I talked about, right? Try with punishing his down forward heavy, and when you get into the game, don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to apply that knowledge and lose, because the only way you're going to get it is by trying. So those are two characters that I think really mess up your tempo and really get you excited, right? Or get you tilted, whatever it may be, and you want to play into them, right? So Ken, Bison, and then I think we can go to the other side of the spectrum, right? Some characters want to slow you down. So we're talking Poison, Falk, Fang, Sim, all the zoners, Sagat. They want to do the opposite. They want to hold you hostage in whatever part of the screen you're in, and they want to create space in order to keep you out and get you frustrated. Because if you think of it from the zoner's perspective, let's say Sagat versus Karen. Sagat is on the other side of the stage throwing fireballs. What does he have to look for from Karen? He has to look for 3 things. He has to look for a jump in if you're in range to hit him with the jump in. He has to look for a shoulder charge through the fireball. And he has to look for like a Rasenha over the fireball, right? That's just for Karen. That's 3 things that he has to worry about from across the screen, and that's it. When you get closer, when Karen gets in or has him in the corner, he has to worry about a throw. He has to worry about getting meatied. He has to worry about getting hit low, whatever it may be. And plus all the other things we just talked about. Rasenha in the corner, maybe the Karen player wants to do like a light Rasenha into super, because she can do that. It's very unsafe, but it can catch people off guard sometimes. Once you're in on a zoner, it becomes a lot more pressure for them, especially if it's like Sim or Poison, right? They have really long normals with really long startups, so they can't really swing too willy-nilly like they can when you're full screen. So their job is to get your tempo off beat so you feel uncomfortable, so you feel like you need to get in now. But you have to always remember that there are 99 seconds on the clock. You have time, and walking and blocking against zoners is a huge thing you need to learn how to do, right? Walking and blocking and taking your space at the correct times will trump most things that zoners want to do, right? They want to create space. You're taking up that space. They want to hit you with a fireball. You're blocking the fireball, but you're also taking space and getting closer to use whatever move you may need to use to get through the fireball. Keeping your cool and keeping your patience in neutral is key. That's the biggest thing that I learned. It wasn't a combo. It wasn't any sort of tech that I learned. It was keeping my composure, keeping myself grounded, and knowing what I need to do to win this game. At any point in the game, right? Even if you're down 90% HP, you need to know what you have to do to win, and you need to stay in that mindset. I'd like to compare it to like when you play CSGO. If you've ever played CSGO or you've ever played Call of Duty at a competitive level, and you're playing like S&D in Call of Duty or just normal Counter-Strike, and your teammates are all telling you what to do, right? Your teammates are all telling you how to play, how to do this situation, or what you need to do to win. But then there's always one person who says, just let him play him, right? Essentially just saying, let him do what he thinks is right. And that is something that you don't have in fighting games, so you don't have teammates. So you have to remind yourself of that. Play you, and don't listen to what the opponent's telling you to do.